People always ask how I balance my family life with 400 shows a year. I'm just doing what I love with the people I love. It's my magic life.
I like Wes Iseli. I like everything about him.
All right, on today's episode, we have a rock star in magic. He's been on AGT, Fool Us, The Today Show, Cake Boss. My wife said he was on Cake Boss.
I know, right?
It's awesome, Cake Boss. And many other TV shows, even toured the world with the Illusionists. Not only is he super talented, but he created a character unlike anyone else. No one can ever accuse this guy of stealing someone else's act. He is one of a kind, and he is one of the good guys in magic. Everybody, it's Dan Sperry. I had to bleep it. Burp, Sperry. There you go. Dan, what's up, buddy?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Dude, I'm so excited to have you on here. I'm just, let's do it. I can't wait. We have an hour, and I want to talk to you for like 6.
Okay. Well, we'll have to break this into extra episodes then or something maybe.
Awesome.
We'll come back for a part 2.
So what's up, man? How's things with you?
Yeah, I mean, things are good. I don't know, could be better, could be a lot worse. So I'm not complaining, where I am right now.
We need to get out of this pandemic, man. My wife just flipped over the calendar from last year and how much money we made. It's like,
ouch.
It hurts, man. We need to be rocking and rolling again.
Vegas, when we're filming this, when we're recording this, we just had, all the New Year's stuff happen, right, and holiday time. So generally, this is always kind of a dip, in tourism and stuff, and shows and whatever in Vegas. Like when I first started here, and I was in like the variety shows and stuff, we'd always be dark right now. When I was in World's Greatest, we'd just go dark for the whole month and come back going into Valentine's Day, right?
Wow.
But now it's even like worse because after all the holiday stuff and everybody hanging out on New Year's, now everybody's getting sick again.
Or
testing positive, I should say. I don't know whether they're actually sick or not. That's up to debate, I guess. But we won't go there. But I'm just saying, so now it's like, security guards and wait staff, and it's not just for performers. It's like all around again now, right? So what a bummer.
So, dude, I get to go to Vegas this week. I'm going to the SAM convention. Are you going to be in town?
Yeah. I'm helping George Satirial. I'm hooking him up with some feather.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. All right, cool. Maybe I'll see you. Hopefully I'll see you.
Yeah,
so,
it'll be a good time.
So I told you before we started, man, I am so not only am I a professional magician, but I'm also a huge fan of magic. And I know you are too. I heard you talk about your love of other magicians and other dove workers especially. But man, I'm looking up to you. I know your story. I know your background story. But fill everybody in on Dan Sperry and how he got started in magic.
Okay. And then jump in, I guess, if I'm, or I'll try and hurry it up. It's a long story. Right?
You're good, man. You're good. We have an hour. We're 3 minutes in.
Right.
Go for it.
So if I get off on a tangent or reel me in or something,
that's what Natalie's good for.
Okay, but like a lot of people, right, started when I was young. I know. So it's basically like this. I know I had seen magicians. I had to have, right? Like a birthday party or a library, school assembly. Something, I'm sure I had seen a magician, and I knew what they were, like from books and maybe TV or something. I knew what a magician was. But when I was like 5 or 6, my grandparents took me to see David Copperfield live, right? Now, I didn't know who he was, and I also didn't know, like in his category, he would probably be considered an illusionist, and so I didn't know what an illusionist was. I didn't know that magic could be like, big and in a theater and just theatrical in general with, smoke and lights and special effects and whatever, scenery, I thought it was like maybe just like a skunk with a spring in it or something, at best. So I didn't really know what to expect. I was I know I was excited. Obviously, there was a buzz because Copperfield, at the time, he was, not to say that he's not huge right now, but I mean, that dude was like, insane back then, right?
He was doing his specials every year.
Yeah, he was doing his specials, and he was, always, every time he'd, go somewhere, he was probably sitting down in a major city for, at least 2 days, unless, maybe Delaware, I don't know. But, like, it was huge, right? So I didn't know who he was. I just knew, like, okay, this was a big deal. And so he would open the show back then with the Death Saw, which is where the premise is he gets like chained. It's an escape, right? So he gets like chained to a table with a box and blah blah blah, like horizontally on his stomach, and there's a spinning buzz saw, like a 6-foot buzz saw, like you'd see like a lumberjack or a paper mill use or something, and he has to get out before this comes down, and it's slowly descending. He has, let's say 90 seconds to get out, or it's gonna be bad. Well, he gets halfway out. It goes, kaput. The buzzsaw drops too early after it malfunctions, and you clearly see it cut him in half. And, like, this back then was, like, huge. Like, guys had been kind of doing similar things, but Copperfield really took it, like, to the next level. Like, probably since, like, Ricciardi, like, took it next level, right? And so... And this was time, too, there's, like, stories where, women were passing out in the front row or something,
Wow.
And so I, as a little kid, thought that I just saw a guy die. So I thought it was real, too, in my little kid mind. So I was freaking out. We had to leave the theater, go into the lobby. We didn't see the rest of the show because I was, like, tormented by this, right?
Oh, my gosh.
And we went to McDonald's. I remember I got McDonald's to try to, like, calm me down. Like, they're like, here, just put this in him and make him relax. I don't know. And so, and that was it. And so from that, like, then that is what, like, sort of didn't necessarily initially intrigue me, but that was my first real memory of having an exposure to magic. And then from that,
wait, like, before you go further. I have to ask. What's that? I have to ask before you go any further. Have you told Copperfield or Chris Kenner, Copperfield's producer, that story?
No, I've never told them that.
Dude, that's amazing. Most people's first trick, mine was a guy pulled a quarter out behind my ear. I was hooked. Yours was traumatic and over the top, and wow.
It's surprising that you would have an interest in magic after you thought somebody died from it. So it's that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, and that's like how like the magic kit thing started. Is from that it was like, look, here's what like magic tricks are. There's like a secret thing, and then that's what like intrigued me to it. Was then oh my god, this isn't real. Like we can actually have make believe live. Like like this could be like a make believe power or whatever. And then once I started getting books or whatever. Now I'm learning something that I can do that adults not only maybe couldn't do but couldn't explain. Like if I was a really great piano player, they maybe the adults couldn't know how they couldn't play piano, but they could just go, I don't know, he plays piano, or something. But now it's not just a wow that you're an impressive piano player. It was wow, how did you do that? Where did it go? How did that change into whatever? It was like a whole nother level of an experience, and that was really interesting to me too.
I totally get that, man. And then you went into like magic competitions, magic clubs. Did you find magic clubs locally when you got older?
That kind of came a little bit later because I'm from like northwestern Minnesota, like 2 hours away from the Twin Cities and stuff. So I didn't have really any magicians anywhere near me, like for a couple hours, right? And like the internet was quite primitive, like it's not like now where there's secret clubs online. These were secret clubs in person. And how could I get there? I didn't have a license,
Right.
So a lot of it was trial and error. I was able to get my hands on some mail order catalogs. This is like, because online shopping was still so new. People were terrified of it. If you can imagine that, imagine that it was a thing back then. Nowadays it's like that sounds ridiculous, but back then people were really leery because that was the new frontier. But so I was doing mail order catalog stuff, just reading descriptions from a company called Abbott's, another one called Tannins, and saving up what little money I could, you know. And the thing about these too is these were old catalogs, right? I didn't understand inflation at the beginning, right? So I'm having these catalogs from like the 60s or 70s, and I'm not understanding inflation. So I'm like, oh my God, you can put a duck in a box and take it apart and it disappears. It's only $10. You know, that's like, then I learned, like, no, it's not $10 anymore, you know, when I started trying to acquire this stuff.
Wow. You didn't even have current Abbott's books.
No, these were like the pages were yellowed, you know, like that old, you know, kind of thing. And like not even real photos in it half the time. You know, they were like illustrations and stuff, you know.
So is that what got you?
Your imagination to imagine what, you know, what is this going to look like now? You know, I sound like I'm an old geezer, but it's like now, you know, you just watch it online and there's the demo video right there. You know, before you kind of had to read the description, imagine it, and then pray. That's what it is.
No, man.
It, you know?
In high school, I had Abbott's catalogs and Tannen's and Hank Lee catalogs, and, you know, internet was brand new. And you bought from those catalogs. Mine were current, but I didn't have math books in my book bag. Heck no. I needed to look through the magazines. Did that help you, like, create your own stuff, or were you saving up buying from them, or did that put you on your own?
It was like half and half.
Yeah.
You know, because I was also, you know, luckily getting exposed to a lot of really good fundamental magic books to read. You know, things that I could acquire from like a bookstore. So like my mom used to work at this place called Dayton's. It's like a retail. It got bought by Macy's. So imagine Macy's, right? She worked in the children's department because my parents are divorced and stuff. And so when she started working, that was her job because she was able to get discounts for clothes for my brother and sister and I, right? So sometimes when I was a little bit older but still young, another crazy thing to think about, she'd work like her 6-hour shift or whatever, take me to the mall with her, and I'd get to go wander the mall. I would just have to check back in, you know, like every 45 minutes or so, right? But I could go wander around and do whatever I wanted, like be a mall rat at like 12, you know? So I would go to the bookstore in the mall and read the magic books and the like alien conspiracies and other weird stuff, but like magic as well. And read there was a book that was really a good book called Now You See It, Now You Don't. That was one that I got a hold of in the Mark Wilson book, you know. I got a hold of that, the Mark Wilson course. And then from there, I also learned about Tarbell. So I started acquiring Tarbell books. And that was, you know, so that I could, you know, from there, you don't just learn it, but some of these things, you know, they'll show you how you can try to construct things, whether it's making something with some envelopes or actually getting like a table saw, you know, and like trying to cut things, you know, and put them together. So that's, it was kind of a little bit of everything, you know, asking for my birthday. Can I get the zombie ball and the dove pan? I remember I couldn't even afford a dove pan. It had to be a chick pan, which is extremely small. Like you make a cupcake appear in it, you know, but it was a start, you know, it just had to make it work. Dude,
you get what you can get, man. I totally agree. I was 2 hours south of, you know, DC where there was stuff going on, and yeah, I was the same boat growing up, man. We sound like we're similar in that way. When you started doing like birthday parties and stuff, tell Natalie about how you used to freak out the kids and the different stuff that you would do.
Yeah. So the way it really started, like back in the day, so there was a guy who was in the town my dad lived in, and he owned a sign company. And he later would make my first banner I ever bought with my name and my website at the bottom. You know, my first vinyl banner that I ever bought. So if I had like a backdrop or something, I could clip it up and look like at the time I thought it looked like $1 million, but now I look at pictures and I'm like, wow, I look like a terrible cover band in like a VFW, you know. But but so when I was starting out, this dude, he would his side gig was he was a clown. And he would do like balloon animals and like magic tricks and stuff for like birthday parties and Cub Scout shows and libraries and, you know, family events at parks and whatever, right? But so he was like kind of getting out of it. He was like the closest, like first real teacher I ever had. And so like he would like let me like shadow him to like birthday parties and see how he would do birthday party shows and stuff for like, you know, back then for nobody else around, and I was, as far as I know, the only kid within you know, a 90-mile radius, you know, that was interested in this stuff. He, like, letting me at 12 to 13, like, shadow him to watch how he would do shows at, like, the Cub Scout meeting and whatever, because I was interested in it. You know, he could have easily just been like, oh, this kid's, like, out of his mind, you know, or I'm not going to share this stuff with you. This is my territory, you know. But he was, like, just kind of getting out of it. And so he, after a while, you know, and I had kind of acquired a little bit of, you know, a show, like, you know, I'd saved up, got a die box, you know, and stuff. And so he started referring some shows to me. You know, I could squeeze a 30-minute birthday show out of the material I had, and I had learned how to make, like, 2 balloon animals, and it's basically a variation of a dog, you know, like little body. Now it's a dog, long-bodied wiener dog. Which one do you want? And so, like, he started, like, referring the shows to me, but the catch is I had to be a clown, right? Because they would call him wanting the clown. He went by Chuckles. They wanted Chuckles, right? And Chuckles, like, I started getting the shows he didn't feel like doing. And so my first ever paid gig was one that Chuckles had referred to me, and it was 4 hours of walk-around magic at a local company or business's family, like, summer barbecue, right? Like the company event, family barbecue in the summer. And so this is like in like July in Minnesota, Atlantic 10,000 Lakes, so it's humid as hell, right? And I'm like, you know, I'm not a clown, so I don't have a clown name. I don't have a clown voice, you know. I'm not like, you know, I'm Bebop the Clown or whatever, you know. I was like, I'm Dan, and I'm a magician that just happens to be a clown today. And so I didn't have a clown outfit because this was not something I wanted to do. I just wanted to be a magician. So, like, had to kind of piece together this outfit from the local, like, savers and like other things, and I got a little clown makeup kit, but I didn't know how to set my makeup, so I was just smudging this stuff everywhere. And my dad had an old clown wig from like a costume party he had gone to, and it was like the bald head with the red hair hanging down, but it was really moppy. It looked like almost like whatever you knit with, you know, like it just looked terrible. And the nose, it had a plastic nose that came down, but it had broken off. And instead of just painting a nose on for whatever reason, we just stapled it back across the bridge onto this thing, hoping that it wouldn't, you know, be that noticeable. But it's like, dude, there's like staples right there, you know? Wow. So anyways, that was my first like clown outfit. So it's kind of, when you think about it, I'm sure I probably disturbed some kids. So it's like the Copperfield thing coming full circle.
Yeah,
so
Copperfield disturbed you, so you're going to take it out on some kids yourself.
Right, yeah.
I get it.
And because it's humid, I'm sweating, and because I don't know how to like do makeup, like theatrically, I don't have it set. So the sweat's like causing it to streak, so I just look like a wax figure, like melting, and it was real bad. But I got $20 for like 4 hours, and I thought like, here we go, this is it. Like, I'm up and running, you know, like, This is the greatest thing ever. And so, like, yeah, that was the first show and starting to do with kids stuff. I mean, later, when I had moved to Chicago, I had to go back and sort of start over because I didn't have a client base. And that's when I had to sort of bring back the kid show material, but really stand out and make a statement, you know, really quickly. So I started altering the material, taking influence from like Ren and Stimpy and South Park and The Simpsons, and like making things where I like pick my nose and eat my own boogers, and then like blow snot like all over the kids, and it's like it sprays out like silly string. So it's a lot of like just chaos, you know. It's turned into pure chaos in the end. Like a messed out Willy Wonka. No, like I've never done it. I've never done it, but that was like the, you know, like this twitchy, you know, just a Willy Wonka. That's kind of was like where I was going.
It's so crazy that you started out with a clown with a nose stapled on your head, and you became like this international superstar magic, dude. It's just you.
Yeah, weird.
It's crazy, man. I don't. Wow, that's not the track that you would think. You would think it'd be like Copperfield. Well, I started when I was 8, and I was just great, and everybody loved me.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if you, at this point, we're 18 minutes in. If you don't know who Dan Sperry is, pause this podcast, go to dansperry.com, check out some of his videos, and come back, because these next bunch of questions will make a lot more sense. So, Dan, at MAES this year, you were doing a talk, and somebody yelled out, you know, because you are all tatted up and your character that you have has the makeup and your hair's all, wacky, crazy. He said, what do you think you're going to be doing in about 20 years? And your answer was selling Disney popcorn buckets. That was your answer, and I'll never forget it, because I'm sitting there like my bubble popped, because, dude, you're a rock star in my mind, and it's like, I will get money out of my savings to help fund you if things get rough for you, because I need you in this world of magic, man. You're a breath of fresh air. You're awesome. I love you. But you were like, no, Disney's awesome, and have you ever seen those popcorn buckets? They're really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I really, I've done way more. Like, so blessed. There's not even words. Way more than I ever thought I'd ever get to. That, when I say that, it doesn't mean like I'm done. Man.
No, yeah.
But like, it's just like, what's there left to do? Like, what about my own TV special? Why? We have YouTube.
Right.
We have, there's so many. Why would you want your own TV for what? I don't care. Like, I can just put stuff up whenever I want and have control over it. Blah blah blah. Right. So, like, I don't know. I'm just kind of coasting, and I never saw myself, even though I was influenced by Copperfield to get started. I always kind of looked up to Lance Burton as in, as for a roadmap. He was at least more relatable of a roadmap. You get, you start doing shows, you build an act, you get in the show, you build your show again, you get the show, try to make as much money as you can doing it, and whenever you're ready, hang it up,
Yeah.
And some guys do that, like Lance. That doesn't mean he's out for forever, but I never even, again, like I said, I've already done way more than I thought I'd ever be able to. I'm not saying this to brag. I get like dumbfounded, thinking about it sometimes. How really blessed the stuff I've been able to say I've done and experienced. But I also feel like I'll probably be like the Ramones. Never really had, a big hit. Never really, but they were totally cool with touring in the van until the end, and they had their fan base that appreciated what they did. They didn't need to headline the Grammys, and I'm okay with that,
Well, dude, I mean, people that have, a couple, I mean, I've been on Penn and Teller. Yeah, that was my television appearance. That was it. I've done some local television, done some, whatever. But the stuff that you have, you just Google Dan Sperry on YouTube, and you got stuff of you performing in China with all the subtitles and the wacky subtitles that cover the screen and all that stuff. And you're huge in Germany. It's just, it's amazing all the stuff that you've done. But I don't want you quitting. I need you to keep going. We need you in magic. But
yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm gonna quit. I might just, I don't know. I might fade into obscurity like Prince. Who knows? We'll see.
But with your love of Disney and all the tattoos that you have, do you have any hidden Mickeys?
I don't. That I don't. I don't have any hidden Mickeys. I'm not quite. Nothing. Not quite that literal.
You're not that crazy. All right. Well, you are covered in tattoos. How many tattoos do you think you have?
I don't know. I really don't know. Some of them kind of bleed into each other a bit. So it's like, I don't know, where one ends and one begins. They kind of just flow in some aspects. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's change the subject here. You had a weekly television show. I was doing a restaurant on Wednesdays, and it was always a bummer. I was trying to get ready to go out the restaurant, but I was carrying my laptop around with me, watching your weekly Wednesday shows. You showed magic. You talked about a whole bunch of UFO stuff. I loved it. I miss it. Do you have any plans of bringing that back?
Yeah, maybe. I kind of dip in and out of it. It was something I did a long time ago with iTrix, actually, is how it started. Way back then.
Oh, wow.
iTrix brought me on to do a weekly live cast, and that was back when you had to have, I can't remember I'm forgetting the name. Like Zoom didn't exist then. It was like a weird embedded, you had RF, MTP or whatever up. It was such a pain. So I started doing it back then. That's where I learned, more about it and stuff. And then I tried doing my own because I didn't want to, I wanted to protect magic stuff and to openly talk about magic stuff, you know, because I knew there'd be crossover, and there was crossover, you know, and the fan base thing. I just wanted to. I'm pretty hardcore kayfabe, you know, about magic secrets, right? Like,
Yeah.
they gotta be, you know, within reason. So I went and started doing it by myself, and that's when I got, you know, more familiar with it. And then when the Facebook live option became in its beta mode, I was one of the people that somehow they fucking let me do it. They trusted me with my, you know, nutcase show to do it. And so I was doing it for a bit when I was out with Illusionists, you know, but then it was hard because, you know, hotel Wi-Fi, so, you know, technology. But when the pandemic happened, like everybody, it was like, I need to exercise my creative side of my brain, and here's one thing that I can do. So it was kind of more so like a therapeutic thing like that, but maybe I'll bring it back.
That's when I found you. I found you on Facebook, man. I loved it. With your UFO stuff, I mean, you 100% believe in UFOs. I mean, before the government solidified and said, yeah, there is something. What made you a believer in UFOs?
Well, what happened was, so, like, a couple things. Getting back to when I was, you know, younger and would wander around the mall by myself, going to this bookstore, I discovered, well, so it goes back to it where, no joke, I grew up when my mom and dad split up in the house my mom moved into. No joke, that house had something in it. I was experiencing stuff, my brother and sister, we all did, not only together, independently, you know, so it could be backed up. I mean, my mom and I used to talk about, like, do you still remember, you know, when that happened? And the stories never changed. We always still remember the same stuff, right? So, anyways,
Wow.
as a little kid, that got me interested in ghosts, you know, and you hear about ghosts in cartoons even, you know, Scooby-Doo or whatever, right? So, being in the bookstore, I would find, like, the paranormal and ghost stories section, and from there I found, you know, alien stuff, and obviously I'd seen E.T. and whatever, you know, so I found a book called Communion, which is a very popular book on the subject, and I had bought it, and it freaked me out, but I got interested in it. And so through, like, some of that, I would also talk to my dad and ask questions, because my dad was, and still is, really into Egyptology. And when he initially graduated high school and went to university, he was studying to be a biblical archaeologist, right? So
Wow.
I was surrounded by hieroglyphics, you know, little weird creatures with, you know, chuckle heads, masks on, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So I would ask questions about it, and of course I would ask, you know, how did the pyramids get made? Because even as a little kid, I remember thinking, like, no way were people pulling these blocks with ropes, you know, like made out of, you know, I don't know, tree branches or something. Like, get out of here, right? So that's just where it's always been something I've been fascinated in and asking questions about. And then as it's sort of become a lot more mainstream, you know, when Ancient Aliens popped, you know, several years ago, that really opened up more channels for it to be researched and discussed, because it kind of became a little bit more mainstream, you know. YouTube channels started popping up and that sort of thing. So to share thoughts, ideas, theories, whatever, you know, that really intrigued me. And I found a guy named Richard Dolan who I was interested in, because he kind of got into the subject matter more from a historical standpoint, and, you know, hidden technology that the government or governments, you know, maybe have, and, you know, then it starts getting crazy, right? So that concept too, you know, really intrigues me, you know.
Did you feel justified when the government come out and said there is something? They finally said there is something.
Yeah, I know, but no, not really, because it was just like, yeah, we kind of always know that, and any, you know, it was there was too much other crazy stuff going on. You know, I think somebody was burning down a village somewhere in Oregon or something at the time too. So it's, you know, it got kind of buried by other stuff in the news. So I think people just kind of forgot, or if they know, they really don't care. I think they need to see something like hover over, you know, the Golden Gate Bridge or something, you know.
So, what about like a documentary? You used to recommend documentaries. Is there anything you recommend to all the listeners now?
Yeah, I mean, the stuff Stephen Greer puts out is really interesting, because he gets into some more spiritual type stuff, and, you know, depending on what you believe, that may fall into some dodgy territory. But you know, I think he's got a good concept even of what he's trying to go with, because it's a little bit part, you know, government stuff. It's a little bit part ancient, you know, technology stuff, but it's also part, you know, trying to send out a message of, you know, positivity. The reason they're not really helping us is because we're all out of our minds, you know, shooting each other, blowing each other up, you know, all this. So they're, you know, they're a little freaked out, like, whoa, just let them, you know, take care of that. You know, sort of like we need to come together as a whole, you know,
those
as
monkeys,
as a species, you know,
yeah,
to just find peace and stuff, you know. So I appreciate that message.
Those monkeys are throwing poop at each other and blowing each other up. Let's watch from afar. Totally.
Yeah, from a very safe distance. Don't get involved, you know. Yeah.
Totally get that. Your opening to your zombie ball routine is fantastic. I love it.
Thanks.
There was an international convention that was held online, and I had shows that weekend, and something happened where I was trying to watch every bit I could. It was going for like 24 hours in a row. I think it was Masters of Magic. And your bit came on, and I just got in the car, but I didn't get the intro. I didn't get anything. When I logged on, I was like 30 seconds into your intro of your zombie ball, and I'm like, what am I watching? It seems so realistic, dude. Think about it. I mean, 30 seconds in is where I started, and then it was like, oh, Natalie, look at this. What is going on here? And then it was your zombie ball, and I'm like, wow. I'm going to butcher it. Can you explain that to the listeners, what that was?
Yeah, so this is you know, something that stems from reality, you know, something getting back to that, you know, alien stuff or conspiracy, whatever you want to call it, you know, the unexplained. It was all about this family in Florida that had discovered a sphere, this cannonball-looking object on their property. They couldn't explain it. They thought maybe it was an old cannonball or something. They brought it home, you know, like, you know, if anybody who's ever lived in rural places, you always just kind of do that. You know, if you find something on your property, bring it home, you clean it up, and you go, oh, look what I found, right? Mm-hmm. So they don't know what it is. Jump forward, you know, a week or so. The son has some buddies over, you know, this is like in the 70s, so they're listening to Steelers Wheel or something and jamming along on their acoustic guitars, and the sphere started reverberating the same note sounds, like it was mimicking it. Then it supposedly would be able to move on its own. You could put it on a table, it would roll to the edge and stop. All these strange things started happening. It's documented in newspapers. You can look it up right outside Jacksonville. It's all real. It's called the Betts Sphere. And I remember when I first heard about this whole story, I was thinking, like, man, that's a pretty, like, if I were to ever do a zombie ball, that's a great excuse, you know, because there's a lot of really amazing zombie balls. You know, Norm Nielsen's with his violin is probably the best one probably ever done. Lance's with the birdcage is probably a close second, with, you know, Brett Daniels as a third, maybe. You know, there's some really amazing, you know, clever ideas, and I always appreciated zombie ball because I was heavily influenced by Neil Foster, right? And I loved his routine even, and I never thought, like, man, if I was do zombie, what would I do? Because I love the routine, even though it's a very simple routine in a way. And so when I started hearing about this Bet Sphere story, I was like, wow, that's the perfect excuse. And then again, you know, not trying to give too much credit to the pandemic, but that was something where I finally had time to sit down and work on it because there was nothing else, you know, going on. Again, I needed to stay sane by exercising my creative side of my brain, and I just thought, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to write the story, and I'm going to work on this, you know, and research everything I could, you know, and ask permission, and, you know, because some of the stuff I do in it isn't mine, but I asked permission from Brett for some moves and stuff, and everybody was really kind about letting me use it, and that was one of my more favorite things that I brought that came out of the pandemic, you know.
Dude, I'm on the East Coast, and that's one of the things that word gets around. You always ask permission. You always talk to people and reach out, and that's awesome. Very commendable. Awesome. Good job. Good on you, man.
Thanks.
Yeah, so can people see that video? I ask because I have that Magicians Facebook group where I put up videos all the time. Is that online somewhere where people can see that? Because it's like a news story vignette before you do the zombie ball on stage.
Yeah, so I have like both versions up. Like, it's on my YouTube. You can find it there. So I have the short version, which has no intro, and then I have the full version with the intro. So
cool. All right, I'm gonna look that up right after we get done. I want Natalie to see it. Let's see. I got so many questions for you, man. We're already halfway through. Your bits, all of your magic is like vignettes. Each bit is so strong, well scripted. Do you have a team that works behind the scenes with you? Do you session with friends, or is it 90%, 100% you? How does that all work?
It's kind of case by case, but really, no, really, it is kind of all me. And I'm not trying to say that to sound vain or whatever, but like, I mean, like, okay, like the zombie ball, for example, this bet sphere, that was all I wrote the whole thing and all my concept, but like I said, some of the moves, I asked permission for. I made the whole thing. That's one of those things where I put it together, and well, the prototype works. I guess this is going to become the main prop now. So I made it all myself. Painted the sphere to make it look like the bet sphere and all that, and edited the music. But sometimes I do have help. With certain things, editing video or with production stuff. One of my best friends I've had for forever, who's worked with me for almost 10 years, is a guy named Jake Rober, and he and I have worked a lot on video stuff and concept. He's been if I were to say, probably one of the oldest top two people who's been longest on my team is him. And so he's someone where like for example, I'd say like, dude, I got this idea. This is how I want it to look. He helps make the vision, a more reality, I guess, like if you were to also go on my YouTube, for example, and watch the commercial for the virtual show I did, it's got like this mambo music where I'm getting ready and it's all manically shot and stuff. And so we, that's an example of something that we did together where I had this idea, maybe I have the song, but I don't know how to make it look, I know how I want it to look, I just don't know how to do it. And he's someone that I've just been, very lucky to have him as like a best friend, like a brother, but he can see what I'm trying to explain, and that's hard to find, right?
Right.
So a lot of the stuff, like anything where the lighting looks amazing in my show, he did it. Any of the really good video stuff, he did it, so that, that's someone, definitely.
Well, that's something I didn't know that you did. How did you do in the virtual realm? Did you like it? Did you do a bunch of it? Did you dabble? How did that work?
I hated it.
Yeah.
Hated
Okay.
it. It just was not for me. It felt so, I don't know. It just felt so, I think just because there's just that loss of connection, and just felt ingenuine, even, it just wasn't, for me, it wasn't clicking. It wasn't for me.
It felt like rehearsal. It always felt like rehearsal instead of being in a show, to me. It felt like we were just sitting there doing a rehearsal. Yeah. And
I think the magicians that say they love it, they're just hoping to get rebooked by that person. They don't want to admit. I don't know how you could love it. I really don't. Because, I mean, people waving their hands.
It was more effort. I would have rather had to get up and take a red-eye flight, get a rental car, drive 2 hours, do a 45-minute show, get 4 hours of sleep at the hotel, and fly back the next morning. Then set up and do a virtual show, in my studio or in another studio. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just wasn't my cup of tea whatsoever.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I have folks that have told me that I'm evil for doing magic, or I was at a restaurant once and some lady said, I'm Christian, get away from me. I know what you represent. I'm like, lady, it's a card trick. So I don't have tattoos. I don't have makeup on. I don't have this character. I can't imagine what you've gone through. What are some of the stories that you've had? Scary, crazy audience reactions from crazy people?
Yeah. I mean, so one time, like, had to go to Dubai, and
is this
they got
with
all kinds of
illusionists?
wackadoo rules over there. And there was one thing that I couldn't do because they thought I was promoting suicide.
Oh gosh.
That was pretty weird. There's another one. When I used to do this thing called interlude, somebody. I did it at a benefit show. That was probably the first problem. I did it at a benefit show. And somebody really complained to the organization that it was some sacrilegious, Luciferian ceremonial whatever, and like you'd think they were describing the Super Bowl halftime show or something like that.
Wow.
And so that that had happened.
Is that before or after they saw your act, though?
That was after. So the show had already happened.
Yeah,
right?
but I mean, I saw you at MAES, and those old timers in that room looked at you, and they were writing you off before they saw you. I mean, they have to know who you are. But I mean, I was in the back of the room. I could feel them. I'm like, but you won them over. You won that room over. So that lady complaining even after seeing you, that's what I was wondering about. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, really, what helped was AGT, actually, because before that, I hadn't really, I had some really great resume bullet points in a live theatrical performance sense, but as far as a mass exposure, not so much. I had done a couple things of Masters of Illusion and the World Magic Awards, and that's kind of it, but it wasn't, the reach, the demos aren't quite as broad there as AGT was. So what AGT then did is that sort of made me more commercial. Even not that I wasn't before, but more commercially acceptable. Maybe.
Well, it's them patting you on the back and putting you on that pedestal.
Right.
You're
it's
that
like,
family.
Well, if you did AGT, it must be fine.
Right.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
Nobody ever said that, but that's maybe sort of the impression I kind of drew from it. The feeling I got. Yeah.
So
so there's been times like that. Like one time I was doing a fair in Indiana, and a dude tried to say I was, saying. I mean, this was just completely saying things that weren't even true. Like I did. No way do I say anything. They were looking for something. Like I was. Saying, I won't say it on your podcast, but words and references that it's like, I know I say a lot of things in my show. I'm not saying that I don't, but that's a whole area, a category that I would never go towards, even in my daily life, off the record. I don't even talk like that,
Dude,
so
it
was just like bananas,
It's judgmental and pointing fingers, and they don't even want to get to know you. They just want you, they don't want to look at you, and it's
closed-minded.
Just 100% closed-minded. You're exactly right, Nat.
Yeah. But because it's magic, I've never had anything because it's magic. Well, yeah, I mean, in New York City, there's a clip of me getting chewed out by an Asian lady on YouTube. But, and that was just a card trick. I wasn't even doing it for her. She just helped herself to step into frame. But really, it's always just been, prejudgment on the look.
Yeah.
Never really anything of the magic, I guess. But
the Asian lady's the only one I knew of. I did know of that one. I had seen that one, and I had known of you before AGT, but the dental floss, when you threw it at Howie, I mean that clip is super viral. What is the number of hits that thing has now? Do you have any idea? 15 million? What is it? It's got to be up there.
Oh, I really don't know. I mean, at this point, and that's been put on so many different channels, collectively, I don't know. I couldn't tell you how many,
You knew he was a germophobic, though, right? Natalie's just asking me. She's whispering to me.
Yeah. So the way that all came about, interesting enough, was I had done, back then, AGT they had tried, I think they only did it for 2 seasons, but they inaugurated, I was in the first time they tried this, they were doing this sort of wild card round where they were going on YouTube and trying to find crazy acts on YouTube or crazy videos of, stunts or whatever, things like that. And then they put them up on their YouTube page, and you went and you voted with a like or something.
Right, yeah.
I can't remember exactly. And so that I had the video of the lifesaver of me performing it already on YouTube. That's how they found it. And so they, inquired about me being a part of the show. And like a lot of performers, I had been attempted to be courted into AGT years prior, but I had no interest because it also it was big, but not as big as it is now. I was on season 5, and you think, wow, 5 seasons in, well, even then it was big, but it wasn't quite as huge. It was just popping, right?
Right.
So I'd known friends that had done AGT, and seeing how they had to go through this nightmarish process, I was like, no, thank you, not interested. You know, I think maybe I'm my own self-saboteur, because getting back to like what I said before, like I've already done a lot. I don't, you know, I was just kind of like, AGT TV opportunity? Nah, I'm good. You know, I don't need it. I'm fine. You know, I'm comfortable. And so, but this YouTube opportunity, I was like, well, this could, you know, at least be a good way to backdoor it, get exposure. I had also, I was a year out of the last show I was in Vegas here closing, because that was also when the economy was still pretty bad, you know, here, especially in Vegas, you know, and so I was like, you know, I need a pop. I need to find a platform to get a pop. And so with a YouTube thing, I thought like this could be a way to backdoor it. So that's how it started, was with the Lifesaver. Then when I got through, it came down to the contract, you know, and that contract, I can't speak to how it is now, but at the time it was a nightmare, right? Like they owned you, you had to do this, you had to do that. And so I didn't want to sign it, because I had shown it to a friend of mine that's an entertainment lawyer. He recommended against it. Now, I was already booked to work the Magic Castle at that same time that they were filming. So I lucked out to be able to basically say, look, if you change your mind, AGT, I'll be in town anyways, working at the castle every night. So if you want to film something, I'm around, right? And so they ended up coming back around, and we made some changes to the agreement. But when I went to show them, I was doing the Bird Act at the castle, and I had the Lifesaver with me because I was also doing it at the castle at that time. And then, so they wanted, this was how they were back then. They wanted big stuff, right? So I'm there with the birds and the Lifesaver, and they were like, so can you make, you know, like a spaceship appear or something? You know, they wanted like the big crazy stuff, you know. And I'm going, no, I don't have that. This is what I have. I have the birds, but I'd already done the birds on TV. I was only seeing this as a resume bullet point and a TV opportunity, right? So I'd already done the birds on the World Magic Awards. So I was kind of like, I don't need another TV clip of me with the birds. I want a TV clip of me doing Lifesaver. Now, before this, they hadn't had really close-up on the show, because like I was saying, they wanted big stuff, big flashy things. Nobody had ever done close-up, really. Not to say they never auditioned with it, just never made it to TV. I'm not trying to say nobody'd ever done it, because I'm sure they had, but
right.
They just hadn't made it to TV. And so doing this Lifesaver thing, because it is, you know, best experience more up close, you know, I'm trying to pitch this to them. They wanted the birds. I said, tell you what if I do this? Because in my show, when I do it, I always kind of take the floss anyways and hold it out over the front row like I'm going to drop it on the person directly below me, and then just always give it a casual toss to the side so it lands on the person not expecting it. I said, what if I did that and I threw it at Howie, because he's a germaphobe, he'll probably freak out. And the director went, oh my God, yes, that's what we're going to do. You know, so it was just a matter of pitching it different, you know, and also, so, you know, sort of manipulating them so I can still kind of get my way, you know, because I just wanted the footage of it. And so really the only people that knew were me, the director, and just a few of the producers, because they wanted to keep the reaction genuine, right? And nobody had really approached the judges like that yet, so they didn't have it laid out for it, you know. So like trying for me to maneuver around like the cables and stuff, they were all freaked out. Like now you think like, guys, let's just make good TV, you know. Right. But in the end, yeah, then that happened. But the agreement was that I was gonna go home, you know, because if you went through, that put me in the semifinals. Right? And anybody from semifinals on is considered for, at the time, they would try to do a tour. Well, by season 5, I also already knew this tour is dog water. Like, it never goes anywhere. So I was like, I don't care. Again, this is like, when I say this, it always sounds like I'm like the worst businessman ever. Like, I'm sabotaging myself, because I'm like, no, I don't want to go on your tour. I just want right. to picture the Lifesaver on TV. Like, take your tour, shove it up your ass. I don't care. You know, so like, it's like, I don't give a shit. And so, so they were like, fine, you're going home. Like, we'll let you do your little candy spot, but then you're going home. Well, it blew up, you know, as it did. And so then we had to reconvene because then they had to put me over. So after that, then it was, all right, next time you're definitely going home. So I could have brought Abe Lincoln back from the dead and have him tap dancing next to Gene Kelly's corpse, and it wouldn't have mattered. You know, like I still would have gone home.
Wow.
So it was a crazy experience, but that's how that all came about. You know, so it kind of goes to show you, I guess, it's all how you try to, you know, navigate the negotiation or something.
Yeah, those contracts are scary, dude. They've talked to us, and Natalie was questioning them because we know your story, we know Kevin James's story, Bizarro's story, and we were referencing all of those, and they were like, "Oh, we don't do it that way anymore. We don't do it that way anymore." But we were on the phone with them, grilling them for over an hour.
Yeah.
And then they said, we'll be in touch, and never called back. So maybe we sabotaged it, but I just don't want to be, you know, in a boo montage when, you know, you do good. You did tour with Murray Hatfield early on, didn't you?
I did. I toured with him twice, yeah.
Would you be up for another touring show somewhere with another group or something at some time, or is it just better being your own boss? What do you think?
I mean, it depends, you know, it depends on who I'd be stuck with, you know, like, but I mean, I'm back working with Masters now, and they've been way kind to me. I can't put them over enough, you know. They've been, I mean, within reason, you know, they let me really be who I am, you know, and exercise my whatever, you know, my they let me breathe, you know.
That's awesome.
Bit, you know, more than maybe some opportunities wouldn't. And so like with that, you know, being said, like I go out with Masters now and then, and I get on good with everybody, you know, there. That's a good example. Say, like, I still do it, but I like it because they're kind of short spurts and stuff. It's like I can kind of part-time tour, you know, and then still go back and do my own thing. And you know, it's not so much they don't really have a huge non-compete because our markets are so completely different anyways, you know. It's a good setup, you know.
Well, another thing that I love about you, man, I have a degree in marketing, and I love your branding and your constant push to create new merchandise and expand your business beyond the show. That is just so commendable. Go to dansperry.com and check out what I'm talking about. I mean, for your fans and magicians, you have playing cards. You have, what else? Your fan pack is on sale now. That's got show posters and bracelets and buttons and all kinds of stuff in there. Magic kits and tricks and T-shirts and earrings and tour books and show DVDs. It just goes on and on. For magicians, you got lecture notes and Dove stuff and magic books and DVDs. Mad Fat Match Gimmick is getting great reviews. Always remember to floss is up there. You had a booth at MAES, and I bought one of everything. Don't tell Natalie how much I spent, but I bought one of everything. But it's amazing, dude. I'm really proud of you. You're everything. I mean, is that you designing your website stuff, or is your buddy helping you with that? It looks great. Everything is so on point brand, you know?
Oh, thanks. Yeah, thanks. I mean, that I think just being influenced from like stuff like you know, like rock bands and, you know, and pro wrestling stuff, you know, these carny level, you know, like chotch, you know, stuff. Just put your logo on it, you know, kind of thing, you know. But again, within reason. I mean, you're not going to get a set of Dan Sperry silverware there or something. But, you know,
you could if you started doing a fork bend.
But, you know, it's so, but yeah, I mean, everything's pretty much, you know, my thought, the design and ideas or whatever, concepts, whatever you want to call it. And then, I mean, like the logo, some of it, I have some really talented friends that not even in magic as well, but, you know, like my logo was designed by this amazing artist buddy of mine named Chris Grimley. He's got a very cool style, and there's some other designs in there. There's like this weird skeleton face thing design of me in pigtails that an artist friend of mine, Forrest from New York, did, and she also did the font of my name. So gotta give those shout outs.
Well, you used to have coffee. I mean, think about a magician selling coffee. It doesn't even make sense. But yours, the branding was awesome. Everything was great. Are you bringing coffee back anytime soon?
Yeah, that's part of the plan coming up here within the next several months to get that up and running. It got taken out at the knees from that break-in I had, and then as soon as that was getting settled and the dust was clearing as much as it could from that, the pandemic hit.
Right.
When my warehouse was broken into and robbed, that was end of September, and then it was into holiday stuff, and then I was out on tour going into the beginning of the year, and I was gonna try to get it up, by summertime, and then end of February, going first week of March, I was in Toronto, and the tour was supposed to end in April. We were in Toronto, and I remember I was asleep on the tour bus, and we were at the venue. You wake up, you're at the venue, and I went in, and usually by then the production is done. Everything's up in the air. Things are unpacked, and any of the guys with the furniture, are putting their illusions together and stuff. Everything was still in the cases, and I was like, what's going on here? And that's when they said, well, we're going to just have to load everything, put it all back in the truck, So that's how I found out about it. And then that's when, everything, like everybody, everything kind of went on hold.
Wow. So what was the name of the coffee?
It was called Zombie Java. It's still...
Are you bringing back Zombie Java?
It's still, it's in the kitty. I still got, I still have some of the original items that I'm holding on to for, maybe giveaways or something when the relaunch happens. But it's still going to be Zombie Java, and I'm still working with the same company. Luckily, they've made it through. They're a great company. I've been with. It's a family. That's the oldest coffee importers in America. I got to know them when I was living in New York, and stuff. And they're really cool. They've been supportive of it from the beginning and stuff. So I'm still working with them, and it should be it should be good to go. I'm hoping by spring of this year, because I got some other stuff launching and happening.
Well, talk about that.
Quarter,
On your Instagram, at Dan Sperry, you have a new deck of cards that's coming out. We only have like 4 minutes left, Dan.
Yeah, all right. Well, keep an eye on at Dan Sperry on Instagram. I got this deck that I designed based off of The Shining, which is my favorite horror movie. Lots of Kubrick-level things built into it. Not just for magicians, but non-magicians as well. You'll appreciate it.
And you have a weekly show at the Griffin in Las Vegas. Is the Griffin down on Fremont?
It is. It's on Fremont. It's away from the bucket drummers and the touchy Elmos, so you don't have to worry about them. It's on Fremont, but it's not the covered part. It's a really great place called the Griffin. Look it up. You can learn more about it on my site, dansperry.com.
Dan, you are awesome. Thank you for taking time out to talk to us. This is... I was so daggone excited. This is awesome. And then I was out power all last week, and we had to postpone this. Thank you for working with us. Thank you for being awesome. Thank you for everything, man.
Hey, thanks for having me on. Happy to be here. And hopefully things get... I guess you got power, so things sound like they're getting better for you guys. Good to know.
At least we're warm. Yeah, man.
I'm hoping all the bad stuff for 2022 happened in that first week, and now we're going to be good to go.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. Anyway, stay on the line, Dan. I got a couple plugs for myself, and then we're going to wrap everything up.
Right on.
On January 28th at 7 p.m., Natalie and I will be performing our full evening Magic and Illusion show live on stage but zoomed into your living room. It's a fundraiser for a couple different schools, and ticket prices are crazy low. For tickets, go to eventbrite.com and search Wes Iseli. Our television show, Wes Iseli's Magiclife, picked up by Golden Media Syndication. They're now selling our show across the country. If it's not on your television, check with your local cable provider and ask about us, and hopefully we will be soon. Also, check out wesiseli.com for our t-shirts, Magiclife t-shirts, Magic Man hats, stickers, playing cards, and more. See you next week. Check us out online at wesiseli.com and patreon.com/Wes_Iseli for behind-the-scenes videos, blooper videos, never-before-seen footage, discounts on merchandise, magic trick tutorials, and more. That's Wes Iseli, spelled Wesiseli.